Guys, welcome to the channel. Sonny here, and today we are covering the global lab patch notes. Unfortunately, we don't have the Black Desert Foundry available today since Tansy is not home, but we do have this, and we'll cover it. We'll go through it, and it's some pretty great changes. And stick around to the end because there's a big announcement about future stuff coming at the end of it, and you don't want to miss that. So first off, some huge changes today. It's not a big one, but it's a very impactful change. So let's get straight into the class changes. This is what a lot of us have been waiting for. The round 2 of the buffs. So we have the character stuff. We'll read this here. The second balance adjustments has begun, starting with add-ons. So this is talking about skill add-ons. It's complete rework of skill add-ons for all classes. In the case of the existing skill add-ons, there were 3 levels of specializations, and the difference between classes continued to arise depending on how you could use these add-ons. So we're talking about T1, T2, and T3 add-ons. Accordingly, changes were made to allow skill add-ons to be used more equally and conveniently. So, what are they doing? The first level of add-ons can be set based on the skill's cooldown time, and secondly, there is no difference in the ability scores of the tier. So what does this mean? Currently, you have T1, 2, and 3. Let's use Monster AP as an example. T1 Monster AP gives you 10, T2 20, and T3 gives you 30 Monster AP. They are changing that so all add-ons give the same. For Monster AP, you can put it on all the abilities and it will all give you 30 Monster AP. There is no difference in the level of the power of the add-ons anymore. So any Monster AP add-on will be 30 Monster AP. The difference is now going to be duration. So we'll cover that. We'll look at the numbers. They're here. And now they're also changing like which one is the short, middle, or long duration. That's going to be depending on the cooldown of abilities. And again, that is laid out here as well, and we'll cover it. So that's what we're looking at. All add-ons will have the same power. Now it's just durations that's different. And obviously this is a giga buff for classes that didn't have availability to T3 add-ons, the 30 Monster AP, 30 crit damage and stuff like that. And now all are gonna have that. Right. In addition, the duration of the newly adjusted depending on the type of the add-ons. By increasing the overall duration of buff add-ons, we wanted to reduce the stress of maintaining the buffs. And in the case of some add-ons that are triggered by hitting, such as down smash or HP recovery, the values are unified so they can be used for the desired skill regardless of the tier. There may be some inconveniences in changing the add-ons for the time being, but they would appreciate it if we would view this as a long adjustments and get used to it, play around with it, and then hopefully over time, freely, without more complications, setting up the skills. After the first balance adjustments is updated, so this is important. After the first balance adjustments was updated, it hit career this Wednesday. That's the PvE damage buff we covered the last 3 weeks. We are setting the direction for the second balance adjustments. That's what's ongoing right now. That's going to be the add-ons, which are covering today. It's going to be protections, ease of use, accuracy, evasion buffs and debuffs, potentially AoE sizes of classes, etc., etc. And they're going to continuously monitor and analyze the data from the first round. So they don't want to just throw out buffs for classes if they don't need it after the first round of PvE buffs, because these changes will affect PvP. So that's why we don't see any big changes today other than add-ons, but I expect already starting next Friday, we'll definitely see some of these huge changes, AoE sizes, protections, and all that going forward. So next week should be a pretty big patch as well. Please note that the add-ons was carried out first, and the skill damage will be continued to be adjusted over time. So there's some slight damage adjustments today as well for some classes. So they're already doing some slight damage adjustments as is. Okay, now let's dive into this because this is big. I'll do my best to break it down so it's easy to understand what they're doing. They are, as you can see here, they're unifying the power of the add-ons to one tier. So previously, you had the different Monster AP add-ons. Now they all give you 30 Monster AP. And that's the same across the board. They're all going to give the same value. Now the difference is going to be how long they last. So you have here the different types of add-ons, and they're divided into different categories, right? You have the offensive A and B, you have defensive effects A, and then you have interruptions effects A and B. Now they list here what the different ones are. So for offensive stats, you have monster AP, human damage, critical rate, attack speed, and movement speed, and also hit rate. Then you have the down attack and everything. Now the TLDR is here. All of these are T3 versions, so all of these are going to give the max value of the current add-ons. So for these effects here, you also have the crit damage down attack. They're also going to be the max rank. And you have defensive here, again, max rank. And then you have the debuffs here, going to be max rank, attack speed as well, and the other effects. You have bleeding, HP recovery, etc., etc. Now, what they're changing here is duration. So here you have the offensive effects A and B. You have the defensive effects, you have the interruptions, A and B, and then other effects. Now, all of these are going to be as max rank. So that means that monster AP will all be 30, human damage will all be 15, the crit and down attack will all be 5%ers, DP will all be 20 DR, etc., etc. All of these will be the current T3 ranks. The only difference is the other effects. They will be unified at the T2 rank. So that would mean 100 bleed and 50% chance of down smash, etc., etc. Now, let's take a look of the duration, because this is the interesting thing. This is now what's going to be changing depending on the level, the tier of it. So first off, as it is right now, all buffs you apply to yourself with add-ons last for 7 seconds, and all debuffs last for 10 seconds, with the exception of the crit damage. That lasts for 5 seconds. So here we go. All of these are going to be lasting, instead of 7 seconds, they're going to be lasting 7, 12, and 20 seconds. Which means your regular abilities will now last 5 more seconds, right? So it's going to be so much easier keeping the full buffs up permanently. You will not need, say, attack speed on multiple abilities, because all of the durations are going to be longer than the cooldowns. And we'll cover that in a bit here. So this means you're going to be able to get a lot more stuff into your kit and having full buffs and debuffs running in your combo. The 5 second buffs, the crit damage and back attack, etc. is going to be 5, 7, 10 seconds. Defensive stats, again, it's a buff. It's going to be now 10, 15, and 25 seconds. So that's great for your DR buffs, etc. The interruptions, that's a CC thing, slows and all that. The stat reduction, they're going to be 7, 10, 20, and then the slows are going to be, instead of 10 seconds, they're going to be 4, 7, and 10. So that's a nerf. They're actually nerfing the slows, which I think is great. Slows are super annoying in the game, so the duration is going to be lower for most part, but you will get the max effect of them. And then you have the other effects here, which is the bleeds, the down smash, etc. The bleeds are going to be very, very interesting. They're going to be 100 bleed, but they're going to be all the way up to 27 seconds if you're using another T3. So very, very powerful, actually. And then down smash, recovery, and also this stuff here is going to be equalized at the center. They are removing the add-ons that steals mana and stuff like that. That's gone as well, so no more of that mana drain stuff. They're reducing it. Great. It's super annoying. Now, how are the cooldowns determining the levels of the add-ons? And as you can see here, if there's a skill, and we check this out, it's supposed to be max rank skills. So sometimes when you level up a skill, it loses cooldown. It's the max rank version of the skill that should be determining which category it falls into. So let's take Fissure Wave as Witch. It has a 3-second cooldown. That will count as a level 1 add-on. So it will last shorter, right? If you have a skill that's between 5 seconds and 13 seconds, it will be the level 2. Well, it needs to be more, so it will be 6 seconds, right? And 13 seconds. It will be a level 2, which also means that you will be able to keep it up permanently. They're gonna last for 12 seconds a lot of the time, so you can keep these up permanently. And then the T3 are skills with 13 seconds or more. Now, a little note as well is, and this would be an issue, so you need to be aware of this when you're making your add-ons. The longer duration abilities still give you an add-on that is considered a T3. So let's say I use a buff, that's a T3, it lasts for 20 seconds. If I have 1 second less on the buff and I use a T2 ability, it will not refresh the buff. So be aware of that when you're making the long durations ones. Even though the buff is the same, it won't refresh it. So for me personally, if you have like T3, you want to use it on something that you probably won't be using and refreshing on other abilities. So for me personally, I think like bleeds and movement speed and stuff like that is going to be crazy good on having on your T3 buffs, because you probably won't have those on other abilities, and you really want that additional duration there. But that's something to be aware of. So the TLDR is, add-ons are changing. All add-ons will give you the same buffs or debuffs in value. However, there will be different durations of them, and that will be determined on the cooldowns of your abilities. So that's the gist of it, and this also means Shies are going to have access to 30% crit chance and 30 monster damage on all their spells. All the classes that didn't have T3 add-ons before will now get the full effect, like Sock Warrior. So basically Sock Warrior gained 10% crit and 10 monster AP compared to what it could even dream about before. It's absolutely huge for a lot of classes, especially for the classes that did not have access to T3 add-ons to begin with. So this is this is huge. This is awesome. I'm really excited to see the options and the things people come up with here. So moving on, I know that took a bit, but this was like the biggest change in today's patch. There is some class changes. Right here we have Musa. So Succession Musa is getting a bit of damage increases. I think this was like 3% damage increase. Not a whole lot, just like 3-5%. Down here, it's a bit of damage increase as well on Storm. Nothing major, right? One thing I should note about this is this might reduce the value of Deathblow artifact up here, because now everyone will be getting 30% crit rate buffs instead of the 20%. Now, Deathblow is still going to be very useful, but a lot of classes won't need it anymore, because they have the permanent uptime of the 30% crit rate, which would give them 98% crit without Deathblow. So we'll see what happens with that as well. It's going to change some meta around. Right, we also have some changes here to Musa. It got a bug fix on Prime Stone Slash. Ninja got a change here. It changed the all attack power plus 12 to being melee attack power plus 20. Now, why is this important? It's because all AP stacks with melee AP buffs. So I'm not entirely sure if Ninja has any any all AP buffs anymore. So potentially this could be just a buff for group PvP or group grinding, where you have other classes that can apply to all AP buffs, and then Ninja has like a lot of these melee buffs. So that's could potentially be a group buff. Beheading of the Dead has a bug fix with the skill add-ons. It wasn't applied on the first hit, so that's going to be very nice, especially with the new add-ons. And Sock Ninja also got some damage buffs. We checked the numbers on Foxclaw, Wild Dance, Escape, Seal, Evasion stuff. It's between 3 and 5% damage increases, I think it was. Small damage increases, like 3 to 8% maybe? Very small. Less than 10% damage increase on these abilities. So again, very slight adjustments. We also have some damage buffs in PvE for Sock Striker. I believe the numbers were between 10 and 18% damage increases on these abilities here on Sock Striker. So a nice little boost. This one here is a 50% damage increase, though, and this one here is a bit bigger as well. But in general, like these up here, the bigger hits, they were like 8 to 15%. I think it was. Dark Knight got some bug fixes on Twilight Rush and Camstone Charm. There was an issue where the charm applied 2 fewer hits. And also an issue with the range was narrower, has been fixed. So because of these 2 issues, there was also another bug where you wouldn't go into the back of the enemy like you're supposed to, so that's also been fixed. Next up is nerfing Imugi significantly. They are nerfing a lot of the stupid damage on the clouds. They are also reducing the gimmicks, and they are making the phases a lot easier to deal with. So this should be a real, tangible, beatable boss now. Yeah, it's going to be a lot easier dealing with the Imugi, even at higher difficulty, damage nerfs on the clouds, removing some of the clouds, and also the phases in between are going to be easier now to do. On Duxini, it got some changes to the attacks. It should be a lot easier to deal and avoid the attacks now. But if you get hit, you probably take more damage because you're going to be like, it's going to do like one big hit instead of like multiple hits. So if you can avoid that one hit, you're fine. And they're also changing some of the animations on it to be easier to detect. So it should in reality be a nerf as well to the boss. It should be easier to deal with. They're fixing a lot of bugs here. This is Apex. If you've ever done these bosses, you know he will be at one position, attack the air, and actually be in your butt, punching your ass. They're fixing some of those bugs where his positioning was completely off. Great. On Bamboo, they're adding street signs so you can find the direction and where to go, and not get lost for half an hour trying to find where the bosses are. So it's going to be a bit easier when you're trying to learn that fight. And for the Golden Pig King, this is such a needed change. It's one of the most buggy boxes as well. And instead of fixing the box, they made it so the thing triggering the box is not happening. Basically, whenever he goes into the shield phase, where he teleports over to the 2 banners, to the altar, and then goes invisible, he won't teleport anymore. So when he enters that phase, he's just going to stay where he is, which means you're not going to be randomly caught out of the circles. He's also not going to be spinning into the wall and then bugging out for the rest of the fight. So giga change to the Pig King as well. And following on the Black Shrine changes, they are turbo buffing rewards. We're going to be getting way more crystals. But wait, there's more. So from level, this is Calamity 7, 6, 5, and 4. 2.5 times and also 5.8 times more of the coins. 2.3 times, 5.8 times more coins, 1.9 times more crystals, and we're talking the Girin, Hentai, and Bong Water, and here we got Harmonies as well. Huge increases in the drop chance. But this one over here is way bigger than you think it is. You're gonna get way more coins. And they're adding new quests for the coins. So this looks to be permanent trade-ins. You can go and trade 2,000 coins for a Harmony, 1,500 coins for a Kirin or Fragments, right? Kirin, Fragments, all that, Phoenix, etc. And also thousands coins for a Forest Crystal. So this looks like it's going to be a permanent trade-in, meaning that increase in coins is going to be absolutely huge. Way easier getting your Girin tiers now. Great change, definitely going to be super worth doing your boss rush with this change here. Next up is a buff to the byproduct on Gathering, 4.6 times more of those turn-ins. Trading, 6 times increase. Hunting, sniper hunting not included, will be 4.5 times more of the byproducts, and then farming will be 4 times more leaves when you're doing farming. Okay. They also changed it. When you're using the consume for your Dark Hungers to get fail stacks on an existing stack, you can also consume gear. And it does happen that people accidentally throw in black stars and other items and accidentally consume them. And PA apparently is tired of answering tickets of this happening, so they're just making so you can't do it anymore. Blackstar equipment and also the Aterian Soul cannot be consumed anymore for fail stacks. So hopefully they won't have to answer all those tickets. This here is Giga for anyone doing ocean stuff. Meretta is a new sea monster boss they're adding. You can go out and fight her and kill her, and she has huge drops. She's gonna drop melodic energy, moss covered maps, equal as flower, and some other stuff for boat stuff. Now, what are these things? Well, this one up here is the new item. It's a guaranteed thing. And what does this do? Well, it makes the new Manos boat crop. Basically, it's a riding crop, but for your boat. You can buy the green and blue version from vendors, I believe. But if you want to make the Manos version, you need 3 of these melodic energies to craft it. And what does it do? Well, it gives you sailing EXP plus 10%, navigation mastery between 5 and 400. So that's the only thing that changes, just like the riding crop goes up to 400 mastery. And 15% movement speed, both maximum and automatic on all your boats. So this is pretty huge. There is also a lower version of them, which is going to be 10%, etc., or 5%. That's the blue and green version. So that should be pretty exciting for anyone that's into ocean content. They are also changing some of the reefs so you don't get stuck as often when you're autopathing. So that's nice. We love to see that. Now for one of the things and the last big thing in the patch notes today, what we've all been waiting for, changes to Garmoth Heart. And this is great. So they're doing a couple of things to Garmoth Heart to make it more available. The first thing they're doing is they're adding the PvP drop to the bundles. So whenever you're killing Garmoth Heart, you're 3 times a week for bundles, you have a chance of getting the Garmoth Bloodstone. 10 of these, so it's not a guaranteed drop, it's a percentage chance, we don't know the rates. Obviously it's still going to be rare, but there's a one-time family quest where you can turn these in. Again, one-time family quest, so you can only do this once per family. 10 of these will give you a Garmoth Heart. It's that simple. On top of that, they are changing the marketplace price from 9.1 billion to 20 billion silver for Garmoth Heart. So people sitting on them might be more willing to sell them, or hopefully it's gonna help on supply as well, not just reduce demand. Which basically means getting one of these is a 2 billion silver drop. So this is definitely something to cheer over if you're doing Garmoth and you get this, even if you don't need it yourself. Collect 10 of these, 20 billion silver in your pocket. But wait, there is more. The current quest for Garmoth Heart, getting the Nuver seals, are getting buffed. Currently, you get between 2 and 3 of the Nuver seals when you kill the regular Nuver and Bloodstorm Nuver. They're going to change that to 5 to 7. So it's over double the amount. Over double the amount of scales, which means it's going to reduce it by more than half the average amount of time it's going to take to complete this quest. So that's awesome. Now, you don't get more drops from the Blood Nuver ads. It's almost like some ads you can kill and get like a drop that's not affected, only the final boss kill. But this should be at least twice as fast completing the quest. So that's great. I'm personally at 196 scales, so it's gonna take me not that long, I guess, to finish that quest off finally. Super nice chains. I'm really excited about these additional ways of acquiring the Garmoth Heart. They're also nerfing the following quest line a bit. Instead of killing 10,000 of these Thornwood mobs, you only need 1,500, and also you only need 30 of each of the Spirit Stones here to do that part. So you have the entire quest line here where they made it a bit easier once you have your 400 Nuver skills. That's the last big one right here, and then they did add some daily quests to the Ulukita hunting grounds where you can get 45 Kaffir stones per spot. They also, for Node War Seeds, they made it so you can see how many people are participating from your guild and your alliance. They doubled the distance of doing boarding and disembarkment again. And they added on the UI, whenever you're selling an item that goes into the registration queue, now you can see when the item is being listed. So you can now, it now shows up. Previously, you would list an item and it wouldn't show up until it went out of the registration queue. So I had people ask, "Oh my god, list an item, it disappeared," and like that. No, it was in the registration queue. Now you can actually follow it along with it. And for all the people out there struggling on getting their T10 horses, fear not, they updated the success screen. So now it looks prettier when you finally do succeed. So yeah, I guess that takes care of that problem. Yeah, new animation whenever you do succeed. Suddenly it doesn't feel so bad being unlucky on T10 horses. Enjoy. The final thing, system changes. Fixes has been made to address the issues of the cliently intermediately terminating abnormally. So they fixed crashes. Surely they fixed them. Yeah, surely no more DCs. So there was an issue, and this actually, don't tune out yet, guys. A huge important notice is coming after this, and this leads straight into that. So they actually talked about this on the last dev talk a couple of weeks ago here. That Jay said that 50% of the devs were working on fixing the crashes. There was like a new special crash happening, and they were trying to fix it. I'm guessing this is it. So you'll probably still crash, but not nearly as much. There's been a lot of stuff going on the last couple of weeks here. I think that's the bug they finally fixed. And speaking of dev talks, new dev talk is announced for tomorrow, Saturday, November 11th. That might be today if you're watching this, right? But November 11th, there will be a late night dev talk. Now, I will not be home tomorrow. It's going to be at 18 KR time. So that should be at 10 a.m. EU time. There should be this talk. I won't be here that day. I'll be gone. But I'll link to Canon and Hui in the description. They will probably be watching it. They speak Korean. They stream in English. So they will be able to translate it. I will cover this on Sunday stream. We'll go over all of it and all the info on Sunday. So if you guys want to watch that, then don't forget to tune in on Sunday at twitch.tv/bprimegaming. And I will see you all in the next one.